Well, good morning, all. I just wanted to check in with you and see if you're having conversations, maybe in your head or in your home, around how long will my working at home continue? It's feeling more real as we move into 3 weeks. And what can I expect on a go forward? Well, that's what we're talking about today. Hi, I'm Charlotte Volsch, bringing you tips, insights, and updates as we operate in a new reality and as we flatten the curve of COVID-19. So today, my guest is Jeff Robbins. Jeff's from Boise, Idaho. He's a managing director and remote team executive officer for a large corporation. So welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Charlotte.
And Jeff is with us today to share a different perspective on working from home scenario, because Jeff saw the advantages of working at home several years ago, right, Jeff?
Yes, we just crossed over 4 years.
4 years, okay. And so he looked at this from a personal as well as a business perspective. Jeff is quite a visionary for big picture opportunity, and he saw this ultimate scenario, and then he presented it to his CEO, and it was accepted and put into place. And it's reaped many rewards over the years that it's been in place. And what I ponder is the whole thinking, presenting, and doing process. And I'm awed with your forward thinking. And what I'm curious about is, what is your big motivation to take a corporation and go to everyone working and let's all work remotely? What was that big picture motivation for you?
I think it started with looking at our company and what we do, and we deliver training and we do coaching, and we kind of looked at the technology that was available, even and I probably started it 6 to 8 months before we actually executed, and we just looked at the technology that was available then. Very infant. It's come a long way since then, and we just looked at it and we said, could this serve our team and how we work with companies? And the answer was, I think so. And then the second question was, can we pull it off? And at the time, and it's obviously things are changing a lot, but at the time it was, we've been in this office together for years, and we have this collaboration. How do we replace that? How do we replace the connection? And that was a question mark, and we knew we had to jump in, and we had to try it, and we knew we could always go back. And we said, well, let's give this a shot. And it did. It took probably 6 months to fully acclimate to the new way of doing business. And and I look at what's going on right now in the world, and schools and businesses, and I'm just going to say personal life has been thrust into this, and it's just this hypersonic speed of, we need to do this right now, which we had the luxury of easing into it, and we had a lot of transition built into it. So the world is thrust into doing this now, which is it's actually interesting. It's very impressive how everyone is adapting so quickly, and every day gets a little easier, it seems.
Yeah, well, I'm sure from your perspective, that would be true, that every day gets a little easier. And that's why I invited you here today, because you have so much experience with it, and you weighed out a lot of things and putting it all together that I'm looking at as far as people being thrust into it today. What can they take from what you went through and maybe start applying it and baby steps as they incorporate that more and more? Like I say, we're now in the 3rd week for many people, and so it's like, whoa, how long am I going to have to do this? And I'm just curious, what was the ultimate scenario you had in your vision going into this work from home scenario, not only with yourself, but your whole team, and each of you being in remote areas, some in many different states?
Great question. I think one thing that's interesting, if I rewind back, we had 100% of our workforce was in Southern California, and it's been 4 years, and now less than a third of our workforce is in California. So when people have the opportunity to work remotely, it opens up opportunities and change and possibilities. So what we've seen is over the last 4 years, and I actually was the first employee to leave San Diego and move to Idaho, which has always been a dream of mine. We've seen others expand out and move to places that are more affordable and better for their family. The job wasn't the reason why they were staying where they were at. So that's been amazing to see. I think my gut at the time was we can be more efficient in this realm. And if you just think of the office environment, and there's a lot of wasted time, there's a lot of interruptions, there's a lot of distractions. Certain people work differently than others, and some love that, some don't love that. So this was an opportunity for everyone to kind of find their way and to find what works best for them. And it has proven that we are more efficient, we are more connected, which is interesting, but we are. We love video, and I know a lot of you are struggling with this change of all of a sudden you're on camera, and when we started, we used to sit in meetings and look at each other and giggle, and like we just really didn't know how to act. And now, even with everything going on, we sit in a meeting and obviously people have a lot on their mind right now, but the working from home part is just what we do. So, like, for example, internally, we never use the telephone to talk to a teammate. We always use video, because we know that the distraction of, if someone's on the phone, they can be looking at the internet, they can be shopping at Target, they're not completely connected. And although there's nothing like being face to face and that connection, this is the next step.
Yeah.
So if you're not face to face, this is the next step. And we just we got used to it, and we feel that it's easier to connect this way than meeting someone at a coffee shop. There's just a lot of other variables that get in there, and we just get a lot more work done. We probably get 25% more work done in this environment.
I totally believe that, just experiencing that myself. And I'm just curious, what systems have you put in place to make sure it works for you and the team? Now, you just shared one, in that all of your connections within the team are via some type of video, and it's not through the phone. So are there any other systems you have in place to make sure that you're working and elevating this productivity 25%?
Yeah, I think the second biggest thing, and maybe even the first thing, video kind of fits into excuse me, how we communicate. How we collaborate is, we use a software program called Slack, and there are many of them out there, many collaboration tools, and basically it's a bunch of chat rooms. And so we have departments that are in certain rooms, we have individuals. I can talk to an individual, I can jump into a room and start a video call that's all connected to our Zoom platform. So that's kind of the tie that binds us, I would say, is that collaboration software. That's where we hang out. That's where departments meet. That's where departments talk. That's where we have a community chat, like a similar to a break room, where people go in there and do what they used to do. And that's what I tried to do, was I tried to model what was that culture in the office. And there was a water cooler, and there's a water cooler now, and you can go in there and you can post pictures of your dog, or the kids, or talk about the movie you saw last night. What I learned is you can't take that away from people. People need that, and certain people need that more than others.
Mhm.
So we have that room. We have a bulletin board room where important updates from HR are posted. More important things, work questions for the whole team, things like that. But that's probably the number one connection tool that we use. It's not super expensive. There's a whole bunch of different options out there, but I think that would be, the number one thing for being efficient and for connecting, that I would say is critical.
That's a great thought. And you called that Slack, correct?
Yes,
And
Slack.
so,
In
as
my opinion, Slack is the leader, and there
okay,
are a lot of imitations, but they all work similarly.
okay,
Ring Central provides one. Even Google has one. It doesn't matter. What we learned was we started with Skype way back.
hmm
That was our training wheels, and then once you get the concept, then any tool works. It's like once you know how to use a hammer, any size hammer will hit the nail.
So, Jeff, as we fast forward to today, if I'm listening to us and I'm not the managing director, but I'm working from home, what key systems would you suggest after your years of tweaking that an individual might implement for, creating the productivity that their company is looking for from them, that maybe they don't have these other systems in place corporately?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, and this is my prophetic side, but even when we get back to normal, it's going to be different in that everyone's been thrust into this technology, and certain companies are saying, oh wow, that we can do that. We can do that. We didn't think we could, but we had to, and we did. So it's not going away. This technology is not going to go away. It's gonna be more prevalent, which I'm super happy about. So what I would say is, if you are home and you have time, now is not the time to, um, let's just say, put in the minimum at work. And I know everyone's juggling kids.
Mhm.
There's a lot going on. But if you're stuck at home on the weekend, get in there and play around with the settings, play around with video. Like, it's, and I'll go back to like when I learned how to use Excel. And I didn't go to a class. I stayed up late with a beer in my hand, and I practiced Excel, and I just worked with it and worked with it. So if you can get, just to say, a little ahead of the curve of everyone else in your company, now you're able to help others, especially if you understand technology and you're comfortable with it. If you're not comfortable with it, practice, find the cool kid in your team, on your team, that, or in your house, it could be your own kid, and have them help you, and practice with them, and because they may be learning that way as well right now. So you got to just get in there and play with it, and every time you do, you're going to be more comfortable. um, get over yourself being on video. Don't No one cares about that right now. It's the same as if you were face to face. It just get in there and jump in.
That's great advice, Jeff, to just, be individualistic about it and take responsibility for your own education, which will then pay off in you being able to help others in your company, maybe even help your boss, and you'll be the go-to person as we move forward and things change again. Um, and so that's great advice as far as adjustments that a person can make individually. It's kind of like the guy who went to night school, trying to learn classes to better themselves and move ahead within a company. Now your night school is your home school, and just working on things that maybe you don't feel that that strong around, but are things that technologically your company's trying to use to connect with you or have you report in. So that's great advice. And for you, it's also been a huge contribution to your family life to be working at home. And I'm just curious, um, what comes to mind that would be really instrumental to share with families out there or people that are working that have families in the home? Now, how can we be functioning as a family in a different way that maybe brings a more united effect in that scenario?
That's a great question. One other note when I talk about like learning, however you like to learn, so YouTube, there's videos of people showing you how to do things, with Zoom or with these technologies. If you're a studier, there's articles within all of the tools that show you step by step. So it's there. However you like to learn, it's there, and it could be your kid showing you. So just to wrap that up, what I would say, and my wife's been working from home for 13 years, so we really have been together. She's got to be on the opposite side of the house, but we have lunch together every day. How often do you have lunch with your family? Every day. I mean, maybe you're on vacation, you guys are all together and you're having lunch and you're like, wow, this is so nice. So every day, we make time to make sure that we have lunch together. And it may be a 15 or 20-minute lunch. Now that the kids are here, they're coming down, they're hanging out with us. We do that every day. We do little walks every day. I think the biggest benefactor of this work from home environment are the pets. And
That's
the pets. And when I'm in a meeting, and my dog's actually not in here right now, but when I'm in a meeting with teammates, usually there's a dog that's hanging out next to that teammate. And you just think about the trends. The dogs don't know what happened, but all of a sudden the family's home and they're getting all this attention, and they're probably getting more walks and more treats. And to me, they're the biggest winner of all this, which is which is cool. But just those little bits of time that you're getting with your family. And like one routine I have and I've always had is when the kids get home from school, even if I'm in a meeting, it does not matter. If my door is unlocked, they come in, they give me a hug, they say hi, and they go do what they do. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. And like that little thing, like it just, you just get that warmth, every day. I know I'm going to get that, or the dog comes in and hangs out or whatever. So, it doesn't have to be big chunks of time or anything like that. It's like just these little moments of going for a walk, with your kid, or going for a little bike ride. Little pieces, like little commitments,
Mhm.
are a big deal. And the kids might look back at this and say, this was the coolest, which
Right.
is crazy, but that's what kids do.
Yeah, the most connected time with family, and that's such a great point. Um, you know, Making personal time, I see, to connect with yourself one-on-one is a critical component in success in this new chapter of living. And my coach and friend Joe Stump has taught me about having a purposeful morning ritual to include that think time, that meditation time, that movement time. In fact, if that's something any of you would like to explore more, just comment below so we can connect for you to learn more about how to weave that into a very critical part of your day, which is your morning, to set that foundation for a great day. So just going back over some key components that you've shared, Jeff. One is connection with your team, and you shared how you do that via Zoom and via,
Slack.
say it again. Oh, Slack, that's
Slack.
right. And, staying connected in ways that make you feel you're there in person. I think that's very very wise information. And then connecting with your family in ways. And another key thing I've learned from Joe is working intently, maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then taking a break. And in that break time, maybe make that, you go for a bike ride with the kids, or you go for a walk around the bike or around the block with the kids. I love that you have lunch with your wife every day. That's beautiful. These are all things we just haven't done before, but they're there and available. And if we take our work time and consolidate it into real productive spurts, actually more is accomplished than if we just drag it out through the whole day. So that's a good awareness. Do you have any parting thoughts to share with our folks, Jeff?
Yeah, I would, and I appreciate you having me on, Charlotte. I value our friendship and happy to help anytime. Um, there's a feeling right now, and I don't want to speak for everyone, but like that me and my wife have, and that's, I need to do more. I need to pedal harder. I need to pedal faster.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that could be serving your house, or it could be serving your work. Like for me, our work is busier now than it's ever been, and we're really trying to give more to it.
Mm-hmm.
But that having a morning ritual and taking a little time for yourself, you're gonna burn out if you get on that computer at 6 a.m. in the morning and you don't get off till 6 p.m. and there's chaos throughout the day. Planning your day, working intently, I agree with. You gotta keep level, and you got to keep steady, and your kids are watching you, your family's watching you, and this is your time to lead that family, and um, just have a little bit of balance, and don't be so hard on yourself. Give yourself a little bit of a break right now, because you're carrying a lot on your shoulders. We're all carrying it, and we'll all get through it, and it's going to be fine. Just keep pedaling, keep pedaling.
I love that thought of keep pedaling, but don't pedal too fast. Don't give yourself. Don't be on fast speed the whole time. Be consistent in your pedaling. Keep pedaling, but make the pace sustainable. And I'd love for you to comment on what you've learned within your own little microcosm in the last 2 weeks of shelter in place. And what takeaway did you get from our conversation today that you can see will be helpful for you and your family on a go forward basis? So thanks all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our next connection.